Hey everyone, very good evening. Just give me a quick acknowledgement in the chat if I'm clearly audible to all of you.
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Thank you so much, Amar sir. Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Great. Welcome to this 30 hours of tech session on fundamentals of full stack development. Let us start in a minute or two. Meanwhile, if in case you people have any doubts pertaining to yesterday's class, you can put it across in the chat. Good evening, Divakar. Good evening, Ritya. Please check if you have your friends already joined in the session. If not, please text them, call them, ask them to quickly join the session. Let them not miss any part, especially the initial part of the session. That's going to be quite crucial. Any queries related to LMS or certificate or anything related to the MOU with respect to your college and ExcelR, Amar sir is also there in the meeting here. So you can just search for his name in the chat. You'll find him and you can send across the messages directly to him.
Yes, that will also work. I will take it up.
Perfect. And I believe all of you have watched the recorded session of our day one once again, and you have also made relevant notes. Make sure you maintain separate at least 100 pages of notebook, whatever 30 hours of training we are going to be covering it here. So that tomorrow, whenever you have to attend any placement drives, if you just flip the pages of this particular notebook, it should be a means of quick revision for you. Quickly check with your friends. Very good evening once again, everyone. I have waited for 5 minutes for everyone to join. I think it's going to be fair enough for me to start with the discussion now, because I could see there were at least minimum 100 of them who were part of the session even before 7 o'clock. So respecting their commitment to the time, it demands me to start the session immediately. Great. Just to be clear here, I don't have the access to YouTube comments. So if in case you have any queries related to whatever I'm going to be speaking here, give me some time. Maybe in between, I'll be able to switch to the YouTube live chat, and accordingly, I'll be able to answer. Because yesterday, after the session, I was going through the live chat on YouTube, and many of you had many queries there. And you also realize that I was not able to answer it is only because I don't have the access to it. I have to do this over Zoom, and it's going to be quite difficult me navigating between YouTube and Zoom. And I don't want any nonsense, irrelevant discussion to happen on YouTube. So please make sure there are people who are going to be quite committed to this program. So you don't create kind of hurdles to others in terms of their learning endeavor for the remaining 13 to 14 days, right? With this note, let us quickly dwell into today's technical discussion. Just a quick summary of what I have spoken about in yesterday's class. Of course, a lot of fundamentals were discussed in the previous session, starting from what is a programming language, what is a program, what type of a device a computer is, and many such things. Just a second, I'm going to make right. Perfect. Right. After which we also discussed something called as the one human architecture, the Princeton architecture, according to whom, according to which every computer should have minimum 4 components. The first one being the input device. Next, you need to have the processing unit. You need to also have the memory unit. You also need to have the output unit. After which we wanted to understand more about this processing unit. That is when where the discussion related to microprocessor was actually triggered. And we realized this microprocessor, the technology on which this has been built, it is a semiconductor technology device. I also gave you the necessary background why it is going to be considered as a semiconductor technology device for a very simple reason. That is, it is made up of transistors. Transistors happens to be semiconductor materials. That is the reason why it is said to be a semiconductor technology device. And we understood the reason why in every single computer science textbook, the very first statement that is going to be given to all of us is computers understand only zeros and ones, nothing but binary language. The rationale behind that statement, we happen to understand in yesterday's session. Great, sir. Next word, sir. Next word means the moment the microprocessor was invented in the same decade, in the decade of 1940s, they also wanted to write programs where the microprocessor is going to execute those programs. And the style of programming that was taking place in the decade of 1940s, that style of programming is what is popularly referred to as machine level language style of programming. And I remember this is how the yesterday's session was concluded. We understood that machine level language style of programming had 2 major limitations. First one being remembering those operation codes, opcodes, binary sequences for every single operation. It is not an easy task, extremely difficult. It is going to be humanly impossible. The second most disadvantage or the limitation was if in case there is any error, any bug within your machine level language program, debugging that error could be extremely difficult because there are going to be only 2 alphabets any machine level language programmer is going to be using to create machine level language programs, which is nothing but zeros and ones. Because of these 2 limitations, the programming community was extremely frustrated. They came back to the computer scientists demanding for a new style of programming. That is when, for these computer scientists, it took approximately a decade, 10 long years, for a new style of programming to be introduced. What is that new style of programming? That is what I'm going to be speaking about. Am I loud enough, everyone? I have got a message from one of the students here that the voice is quite low, but I feel it should be audible, loud and clear. Okay, I'm clearly audible for everybody else, so you have to check your network connection. Perfect. Right. I appreciate those of you who are taking the pain of replying to my questions here, because I told you in yesterday's class also there are a few VIPs here who just simply want to Just sit like a mute spectator and enjoy the session without participating. Anyways, it's your call, but the more you interact, the more you respond, it is going to be better for you. Perfect. Thank you so much. Right. Let's quickly get started. I'm going to share my screen. I hope I have yesterday's window still open. Yes, here it is. Right. All of those YouTube audience, make sure you're understanding the session crystal clear. If there are any queries, wait till the end of the session. Maybe at the end, I'm going to dedicate 2 to 3 minutes only to look into the YouTube live chat. Then whatever questions you have for us there, we would be quite happy to address to all of your queries. Right. Let us get started quickly here, everyone. Perfect. So I have retained yesterday's screen as it is. So this was the style of programming in 1940s. Now I told you, after 10 long years, in the next decade, the computer scientists finally they came up with a new style of programming. What was that new style of programming? Observe this. After 10 long years, in 1950s, these computer scientists made an announcement to the entire programming community. Hey, look, programmers, you don't really have to remember the. Okay, this is a little disturbing, please.
Oh, I'm just taking from the back end. You can continue.
Sure, thank you. Right. What was I speaking about? In 1950s, the computer scientists came back and they said, look, developers, look, programmers, in the previous decade, whenever you wanted to perform any type of an operation, any kind of an operation, it was a mandatory task for all of you that you had to remember the binary sequences. For example, for addition, 10110010. Like this, for more approximately around 3 lakh operations, you literally had to mug up the binary sequences, the machine level language instruction, which is quite not possible. So what they decided was, look, now in 1950s, for each of these machine level language code that you see, you don't really have to mug it up. What we have done is, for each of these machine level language instructions, we have given a name. What do you mean to say, sir? Observe this. Tell me, this first machine level language instruction that all of you see on my screen, this is for which operation here? For addition operation. So see, what they did was, from 1950s onwards, whenever you want to perform addition operation, you don't have to remember this binary code. All that you have to do is you have to remember this name, which is nothing but add. Next word, sir. Similarly, whenever you want to perform subtraction operation, don't remember the binary code. All that you have to do is just remember this name, sub. Similarly, for multiplication, the name that they have given is going to be mul. For division, it is going to be div. Like this, for all of the operations, they have associated a name with it, a corresponding name with it. There is a name called as move. There is a name called as jump. Like this, there are going to be many other names that were given for each of those 3 lakh instructions. Now, what are these called as, sir? Very simple. The names that are associated with the binary sequences are technically referred to as mnemonics. So see, if in case in your interviews, if they ask you this question, can you define what are mnemonics? Of course, the M is going to be silent here. Mnemonics are nothing but the names associated with the binary sequences. All that you have to do is you should in your program, within your program, you just have to use this mnemonic. Internally, it is going to be converted into the binary sequence and the corresponding operation will be performed by the microprocessor. Am I clear with this, everyone? That means in 1950s, how would our programs look like, sir? This is how the programs used to look like. Observe this. Am I going to make use of the binary sequences in 1950s also? 100% no, because I have a better option available now. What is it? It is the use of mnemonics. So see, I'm going to tell maybe move AX, comma, maybe 05H like this, move BX, comma, maybe 09H like this. I've told you, what is this move? It is nothing but a mnemonic. This 05H, 09H that you see, it is nothing but the data in the hexadecimal format. Sir, what about this AX and BX? Don't worry, I'm going to speak about it. Next word, sir. Finally, I'm going to tell add AX comma BX. Maybe subtract AX comma BX. Something like this. This is how the programs in 1950s used to look like. Think and answer. In this entire entity here, do you have a single instruction or multiple instruction here? 100% we have multiple instructions. And yesterday itself, I have told you, set of instructions is what is going to be referred to as a program. Sir, all that is fine, but please clarify to us, what is this AX, BX, CX, DX, sir? Those of you who have been passionately attending this training program, if you remember in yesterday's class, when I was speaking about one human architecture, I told you within your CPU, there are 3 subunits: control unit, arithmetic logic unit, and also registers. What are registers? Basically, these are also nothing but storage devices. They are also memory components. Now, every single register within your computer will have names, and those names are only going to look like AX, BX, CX, and DX. So if you ask me, what is this AX, BX here? These are nothing but registers. Am I clear with this, everyone? That is great, sir. But what is this style of programming called as, sir? Where we are going to make use of mnemonics and registers. This style of programming, my friends, is very famously referred to as assembly level language style of programming. This is what is referred to as assembly level language style of programming. Am I clear with this? So in assembly level language style of programming, what is that our programs is going to be composed of? It is going to be composed of mnemonics and registers. Is that clear, everyone? Perfect. Next word, sir. Next word means my program is ready, boss. So I'm just simply going to take this program. I would directly give it to my microprocessor. Microprocessor is going to execute this program, and as a result of which, what is it going to produce to us? I expect all of you to participate in the class. Good. Meghna says output. I repeat once again. I would take this program, give it as input to the microprocessor. The microprocessor is going to execute this program. And as a result of which, what is it going to produce? I want all of you to answer. If you're not interactive and later once the program is completed, for some reason, if you don't receive your certificate, please do not come back to us. We would have valid reason for not issuing these certificates to you. Good, good. Nayan, Praveen, Kirtana, okay. Arif, Rajneesh, Shirisha, Upsita, Jyoti. Okay. Okay, right. Now listen to this. Listen to this, everyone. Those of you who have sent your answer to me in the meeting chat here, that the microprocessor is going to produce the output, all of you are mistaken. You're not really focusing on the explanation here. In yesterday's class, I remember at least taking some 15 to 20 minutes speaking only about microprocessor. In fact, the history is still there on the screen here. You have forgotten something very fundamental about microprocessor itself. Tell me, in yesterday's class, I told you, your microprocessor understands only one language. Can you tell me what is that language? It is nothing but zeros and ones, binary language. Good, Parvati. But look at in what language have you written your program? You have written the program in assembly level language. How can you even expect your microprocessor to understand assembly level language and execute and produce the output for you? In simple words, I laid a trap for all of you, and all of you very smoothly landed into my trap here, telling output, output, output. 100% that is not going to be the case here. But sir, I have written my program, sir. I obviously want it to be executed. What should I do, sir? That is why you don't have to scratch your head. You don't have to scratch your head. The computer scientists who invented this style of programming, they also gave us a software to us. What do you mean to say, sir? Observe this. What you have to do is, these computer scientists who introduced the assembly level language style of programming, they also gave us a software. They also gave us a software. What is the name of that software, sir? Observe this. They also gave us a software. What is the job of this software, if you ask me? The job of this software is very simple. Whatever code I have written in assembly level language, the software should read as input, and accordingly, correspondingly, it should be able to convert every single instruction in assembly level language into machine level language code. That is the job of the software, because common sense it is. On one end, as a programmer, in what language are you writing your programs? You're writing your programs in assembly level language. But on the other end, it is the microprocessor who has to execute your program. But what is the only language which your microprocessor will be able to understand? Machine level language. Clearly, there is a gap in communication here. I mean, you would have noticed it whenever the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister also, Narendra Modi, whenever he happens to visit any other foreign country, maybe he would be interacting in Hindi. Maybe let us say he has visited USA, and there he's trying to speak to Biden. Obviously, Biden doesn't understand Hindi. He is going to understand only English there. Now, how do you think both of these individuals are going to communicate with each other? Good, good. All of you have answered it correctly. In between, they will have a translator. The translator will understand whatever Narendra Modi is speaking in Hindi. He is going to convert everything into English, and then it is going to be conveyed to Biden. Whatever the US president there is going to speak in English, he is going to understand, he is going to convert it back to Hindi, and then it is going to be conveyed it back to Narendra Modi. Same is the thing that should happen here also. So what is going to happen, sir? Who is the translator here, sir? The name of this translator. Good. Some of you have already answered it. I appreciate. See, the name of this translator itself happens to be assembler. In the interviews, if in case they ask you this question, can you define what is an assembler? Assembler is a software which is going to take your assembly level language program as input, and it is going to convert the assembly level language code into machine level language code, and that is what is going to be produced as output. As simple as that. Basically, it is a software that is going to convert your assembly level language code into machine level language code. Oh, great, sir. Now that you have got machine level language code, now can you give it to microprocessor? Now will the microprocessor be able to understand? Of course, yes. Why not? And if the microprocessor is able to understand, means it is going to execute it. And for whatever task you have written your assembly level language code, for that task, output is also going to be definitely produced here. Is that clear, everyone, so far? Great, sir. Wonderful, sir. We understood 1940s machine level language, 1950s assembly level language. Next, what happened, sir? It was only for a very short period of time. In the early 1950s, the programming community was happy with this style of programming. Sir, why, sir? Now, what is the problem with assembly level language? Now, please understand. I told you, in assembly level language style of programming, what is that you're going to make use of? What are the fundamental components of assembly level language program? Let me see how many of you will be able to answer. In assembly level language style of programming, what is that you're going to use to write the program code? In machine level language, you have to use binary sequences. In assembly level language, all of you are telling only mnemonics. Vinaya Pratika is correct. Not only mnemonics, you have to also use registers along with mnemonics. Good, good. Now please understand. Now understand, everyone. Concentrate here. No, I also told you, what are these registers? These are storage devices within your microprocessor. They are going to be present inside your CPU. Now, please understand, as an assembly level language programmer, as assembly level language developer, you should not only focus on thinking the logic of the problem for which you're trying to write the code. That means the software aspect of it. You should, there is a dependency on you to also know the hardware level intricacies of the microprocessor also. What do you mean to say, sir? Obviously, if you have to write your program, you should know what are the different registers present within your microprocessor. What configurations of those microprocessors is going to be present, because different processors will have different configurations of the registers there. Because of this dependency on a software engineer, that if you have to write your program, if you have to develop your software in assembly level language, you should also know the hardware level details. This fact, the programmers were not happy about it. They demanded a clear distinguish between a software engineer and a hardware engineer. As a software engineer, my entire focus, my entire job should be only in terms of creating the software, writing the program. I should absolutely have zero dependency on the hardware of the computer. I am not interested in the hardware. But then, if you have to write your programs in assembly level language, there is a dependency. You should also know the hardware level details. This they were not ready. Like this, technically speaking, there were many other disadvantages, but this is a class on Java programming. If it was on assembly level language style of programming, I could have spoken about it for at least 2 to 3 hours. If you remember this much, it is going to be more than enough. So what happened, sir? Once again, they went back to the computer scientists demanding for a new style of programming. Once again, for those computer scientists, it took 10 long years, nothing but 1 decade. After 10 long years, these computer scientists came back and they said, look, programmers, we have a good news for all of you. That is, in 1960s, now, previously, you had to use the mnemonics and registers to write your program. Now, 1960s, you don't even have to use those mnemonics, don't even have to remember the names of those operations. All that you have to do is, for each of the operations, we are going to be giving you symbols. All that you should do is remember those symbols. See, for example, whenever you want to perform addition operation, of course, why will you go back to 1940s and trying to remember the machine level language code? In 1950s, you have already replaced it with the name. But now, don't even remember that name. Simply try to remember this symbol, more than enough. So see, whenever you want to perform addition operation, the only thing you should be doing is use the symbol plus. That is all you should be doing it. Sir, what if in case if I have to perform subtraction? Minus, multiplication, asterisk symbol, star, whatever you call it as. Division, forward slash. Whenever you want to move the data from one variable into another variable or assign some data into a variable. As of now, I know some of you don't even know what is a variable. Don't worry about it. I'm going to speak about it also very soon. In that case, use this symbol. Like this, there were many other symbols that were provided to us in this style of programming. But the things are not going to stop there. Along with these symbols, in this style of programming, you can also use statements which are just raw English statements. That means in this style of programming, you're going to be using 2 things here, not just symbols. You can also use English-like statements. Sir, what do you mean to say, sir? For example, let us say, in my program, I am interested in storing an integer number. You don't have to write some complicated technical code for that. All that you have to do is use this word called as int. Don't you think it looks like an English-like statement? Because in English also you call it as integer. In programming, you should use int. English-like statements. In mathematics, I'm sure all of you have heard of it. Whenever there is a number which is going to have decimal point and a fractional part, Such numbers are technically called as real numbers. They're also called as floating point numbers. It is a mathematical term. That is why in programming also, I am not going to introduce a new word and make your life miserable. In programming also, you can use the same word, float. That's all. English-like statements. You want to store a character, you want to store a letter. It is also called as a character. That's all. This is the word that you should be using. You want to print something, all that you should do is print. You want to scan some data from the keyboard, simply use the word scan. You want to check if a certain condition is satisfied, do something. Otherwise, do something else. Then you should use something called as if else. I hope you're understanding what I mean by English-like statements. Perfect. Next what, sir? Next what means, observe this. Come 1960s. See, come 1960s. This is how my programs are going to look like. How would your programs look like, sir? For example, if I want to create an integer variable like this, see, maybe I want to store the integer value 5. First of all, I would assign a variable to this. Maybe the name of the variable is A. It is holding integer data, so int. Next, I want to store the data, integer data 9. So I would store it in a variable called as B, the type of which is going to be integer type. That's all. Now you want to add whatever is there in A and B, don't have to write that binary code, don't have to use the mnemonic add. All that you should do is A plus B, that's all. It is common sense. Whenever you add two integers, the result is also another integer. 5 plus 9 is nothing but 14, which is also another integer. So that result, you store it in another variable called a C, which is also going to be integer type. Finally, you want to print the result. All that you should do is print C. That's all. Congratulations. This is how your programs are going to look like. Great, sir. But if in case, since this entity is containing many instructions, this is nothing but a program. But what is this style of programming called as, sir? Where we are going to use symbols and English-like statements. This style of programming is what is technically referred to as high-level language style of programming. In high-level language style of programming, we are going to be using two things. What are those two things? Symbols and English-like statements. Why is it called as high-level, sir? Because it is not closer to the computer. It is closer to the human beings. That is why it is very high level. Because sometimes your machine level language style of programming would also be referred to as low level language. Why? Because that is very far from the programmer, but very close to the computer. But high level language, exactly opposite of it. Very far from the computer, but quite close to the programmer. That is great, sir. Now my high-level language program is ready. So observe this, everyone. This is another question for all of you. Let me see how many of you would answer it correctly. If I would take this high-level language program and try to directly give it as input to the microprocessor would execute. And what is it going to produce for all of us? Now, some of you are even now falling into the trap here. Some of you are telling 14 output. Sheikh Salim, it is better if you would use English language to communicate. Good. Some of you have become quite smart. Absolutely correct. I can't take the high-level language program and directly give it as input to the microprocessor, because the microprocessor by nature will understand only one language, which is the language of zeros and ones. Other than that, it is not going to understand anything else. So what should we do, sir? Just like in 1950s, we had a translator called as assembler. Here also we need some kind of a translator. So what is the name of that translator, sir? Understand, that is what I'm going to be speaking about. This translator, whose job is to take your high-level language code and convert it into machine-level language. Actually speaking, we don't have a single software here. We, in fact, have two different softwares here. The very first software is referred to as compiler, but there is also something called as interpreter. So there are two options available for us. Either I can use compiler or I can also use interpreter to convert my high level language code into machine level language code. But sir, why do we have two software, sir? Why not one? Have patience. After all, it is just the second day of the training. I think in our fourth class, we're going to be understanding the differences between compiler and interpreter. Do not worry about it. Simply remember, we have two options to convert high level language code into machine level language code. So what are you going to be doing next, sir? Very simple. I would take this high level language code. I would give it as input to the compiler or the interpreter. Both of them are going to convert your high level language code into machine level language code. See, once the compiler or the interpreter is going to provide machine level language code as output. Now, if you happen to take this machine level language code, give it as input to the microprocessor. Now, will the microprocessor understand? 100% yes. Because I'm speaking to microprocessor in the language which it understands, zeros and ones. And as a result of which, undoubtedly, it is also going to produce output for us for this particular program as well. Am I clear with this, everyone? Did you understand all the three styles of programming? Machine level language style of programming, assembly level language style of programming, and finally, high level language style of programming. Sir, that is wonderful, sir, but we want you to continue the story, sir. We are enjoying. This is like a movie for us. Good that you're enjoying. At the same time, try to understand these technicalities. Sir, so in 1960s, it is high-level language style of programming. Next, what happened, sir? In 1970s, did we introduce a new style of programming? Unfortunately, no. Sir, what about in 1980s, sir? Nothing. 1990s, nothing. Sir, in 2000s, sir, nothing. After 2010, after 2020, sir, after the COVID pandemic also, did we happen to introduce a new style of programming? The answer is clear, no. That means from 1960s till date, the most popular style of programming happens to be high-level language style of programming. All of the programming languages whose name have fallen into your ears throughout your academics, maybe from your friends, maybe from your relatives, maybe from your colleagues, whatever programming languages names that have fallen into your ears, it could be C, it could be C++, it could be Java, it could be C#, it could be Python, any programming language. All of these programming languages happens to be high-level language style of programming languages. All of them are high-level languages. Am I clear with this, everyone? So the reason for me to discuss this topic today, I have got two reasons here. First of all of these are very fundamentals. It is quite important for anybody who is aspiring to seek a career within the IT industry. Second reason, yesterday also I was getting these questions from a lot of aspirants here. Sir, I come from non-technical background. Will I be able to understand programming? Will I be able to become an efficient programmer and shape my career as a software engineer? I didn't want to give an answer to all such questions yesterday. It is through this explanation I'm trying to answer those questions also here. Now, you yourself decide. What do you think? Do you think it is going to be difficult to write programs using programming languages, which happens to be high-level languages? How can it even be difficult? I mean, I would say you should be grateful to your parents. Luckily, in fact, including me also, we were not born in 1940s. Our life would have been miserable. Every day deal with only zeros and ones. Luckily, we were also not born in 1950s. That means along with writing the code for the software, we also had to know the internal architecture of the microprocessor. A lot of complications there. Be thankful to your parents. All of you are born after 1960s. Now, what the world is demanding from you is you have to learn the most simplest, the most easiest way of programming. Nothing but using high-level languages. Now, whenever you hear from somebody, hey, coding is difficult, programming is difficult, that is not my cup of tea. Immediately, you should be able to recall this particular session of mine. We are not dealing with machine level languages today. We are not asking you to learn programming languages which abide by the principles of assembly level language. We are asking you to learn high level language. After all, what you're going to be learning in high level language is two things: symbols and English like statements. Now, you yourself tell me, is it going to be difficult? 100%. No, it is definitely going to be easy. Anyways, I hope I have been able to explain the three different styles of programming here: machine level language, assembly level language, and high level language. In fact, it is not just in programming, not just from the technical aspect. This is how we human beings are also programmed here. We're extremely bad when it comes to remembering numbers. I mean, I would also include myself in that particular spectrum here. Many of us, shamelessly, I would say, shamelessly, we save our parents' contact numbers also in our mobile phone. Are we not doing it? I am telling you, I am doing it. I have saved my parents' number in my mobile phone. Why? We can't even remember two 10-digit contact numbers here. Some of you might remember it. That is great. But do you remember all of the 300 contacts that are present in your mobile phone? 100% no. Did somebody else save those contact numbers in your mobile phone? No, it was you yourself. That is why doesn't matter whether you have an iPhone or a OnePlus or a Samsung or a MI phone or a Realme phone, Poco phone, Oppo. I don't know what names these mobile phone companies are giving. Anyways, every single mobile phone manufacturing company knows that they're selling these devices. They're selling these devices not to chimpanzees. They're selling these devices to a very peculiar species called as human beings. And they have understood a very simple funda about these human beings. These human beings, they're extremely bad when it comes to remembering numbers. So not all of the applications that you currently have in your mobile phone comes pre-installed, but there is one application of which mobile phone you have. It is going to be by default present within it. What is that, sir? It is nothing but the phone book. It is nothing but. So do all of our mobile phones have a pre-installed system application in our mobile phones? Contacts, 100% we do have it. Same thing. We human beings were not programmed to remember numbers. We are good at remembering names, assembly level language style of programming. But there also, there is a problem. You should keep recalling those names. Only then you will be able to remember it for a long time. I don't know if it has happened with you, but it has happened with me many a times. I would have met somebody maybe 10 years before, maybe 12 years before, or 8 years before. Now, suddenly I see after 8 long years, 10 long years, I see that person in one or the other event here. I know that I have maybe worked with him. I have maybe he's a far off cousin of mine. I want to go and speak to that person, but unfortunately, the problem would be I have forgotten his name or her name. No, I can't go and tell, hey, brother, how are you doing? I'm very happy to see you. We have met after 8 long years. I hug him, I show all kind of excitement. And then I finally ask, hey, I'm sorry, man, I've forgotten your name. His heart will break into million pieces. He will tell, hey, it was better you did not even come and meet me. I hope all of you are understanding it. Hey, I have met him somewhere, but I am not able to recall his name. But in your brain, are you able to recall his image? 100% yes. So I hope you're understanding the hierarchy here. Extremely bad when it comes to remembering numbers. Average, good at remembering names. But what are we best at? We are best at remembering the images. That is why I don't know. Off late, I see in these latest mobile phones and all, whenever you're saving somebody's contact, you can also click their photo and you can save it. So that tomorrow, if you have four Abhisheks saved in your mobile phone, you don't know which number belongs to that particular Abhishek. You have the photo, quickly recall and dial that particular number. Am I clear with this? That is what is happening here also. See, machine level language, assembly level language, and high level language. Am I clear with this, everyone? Did all of you understand so far whatever I've spoken? Perfect. Okay. I would request all of you to go through this entire slide. There is a lot of information here. Take exactly 60 seconds. Try to have a complete glance over this slide. Meanwhile, I'll also just have some water and we can continue the discussion. So take exactly 2 minutes and then we will resume our discussion. Right. Let's continue now. At the same time, I hope there are no doubts whatever I've spoken so far. I was also going through the YouTube chat section. I once again request, it's a humble request. I mean, if you are really passionate towards learning something, or if you're not interested, there are only two options in front of you. Either you don't have to be part of this live stream that is happening on YouTube, or if you're really interested, please make sure. I mean, it's common sense. Your chat is visible to every single person on the earth who's watching the same live stream. So it's a humble request. I'm telling you, it's a request. So please do not try to spam anything there. It is also not professional to do it on such a live stream. I mean, if somebody's playing games while live streaming something on YouTube, you can speak absolutely nonsense there. But here, there is a certain purpose with which we're trying to organize all of these sessions. It has taken a lot of efforts. I can't really go into the details of it. So it's a request. Please try to maintain the ethnicity of this session, maintain the decorum of these classes on YouTube Live as well. Right. I hope the request would be considered. Thank you so much. Perfect. Next, let's continue now. I want to speak something more about high-level languages. So since that itself is going to be the most popular style of programming. So let me just slightly, no, I don't want to save this. Anyways, you can make running notes later. I'll just clear everything. Perfect. Now, understand this. All of the high-level languages, I remember telling this in yesterday's class also. How many high-level languages do we have? How many high-level languages we have? We have at least 800 high-level languages as we speak today. Of course, there are also few websites on the internet which claim that there are around 2000 high-level programming languages also. Let us go on with the base here, the minimal number, at least 800 high-level programming languages. I'm being very precise here. I'm not referring to machine level language. I'm not at all referring to assembly level language. I'm referring to high-level languages. Each of these high-level languages can be categorized into one of the three categories here. They can be classified into one of the three categories. What are those categories, sir? Basically, depending on what style, the style principles the language is abiding by. Accordingly, it is going to be categorized into three different categories here. So see, those categories are technically called as programming paradigms. That is what they are called as. There is a programming paradigm which is technically called as unstructured programming paradigm. Unstructured programming style, or you can also say non-structured. Both means the same. Next word, sir. There is something called as the structured programming paradigm. Structured programming style. It is also referred to as procedure-oriented programming. This is what in short is referred to as POP. It is also referred to as modular style of programming. It is also referred to as functional style of programming. There are many synonyms to this. I hope all of you understand the meaning of the word synonym here. Different words, but their meaning is going to be same. Finally, there is also something called as the object-oriented style of programming. This is what in short is referred to as OOP, object-oriented programming style. So how many programming paradigms do we have? All of these students here, 3 programming paradigms: unstructured, structured, and object-oriented programming paradigm. Good. Now, like I said, any high-level programming language you take, it is going to fall into one of these 3 buckets here. Now, what is the difference between each of these? That is what you're going to understand now. I hope this space would be sufficient. It would be sufficient. Let's just go ahead with it. Now, understand this. See, I want to discuss some of the prominent high-level programming languages in the programming world, which were the prominent, most important high-level programming languages. Those high-level programming languages is what I'm going to be speaking about next. So see, observe this. These are the high-level languages. Sir, which is the very first famous high-level programming language, if you ask me. It is a language that was created in the decade of 1970s, to be very precise, in 1972, by a very famous computer scientist whose name happens to be Dennis Ritchie. And the language that I'm referring to, it was developed by Dennis Ritchie at a place in USA called as Bell Labs. There is a laboratory in USA where it was developed, and that place is referred to as Bell Labs. Sir, what language are you referring to? The language that I'm trying to refer to here is nothing but C programming language. That is what I'm trying to refer to. Am I clear with this? Sir, just now you made the statement that every single high-level programming language falls into one of the three categories. What about C programming language, sir? C programming language happens to be a structured programming language. It is a procedure-oriented programming language. So observe this. Here I'm going to tell the features of C programming languages. It is a structured or a procedure-oriented programming language. Sir, that is okay. But we want to understand what is the meaning of these three programming paradigms. What really is the difference? Don't worry, that is what I'm going to speak about. Now, see, there are two ways to explain this. Either I can directly explain to you what is structured oriented programming language, or if I can first explain what is the meaning of unstructured style of programming, exactly opposite of that is going to be the structured style of programming. So let me go with the second approach here. So first you need to understand what is a unstructured style of programming. Of course, this is just a style. There should be some language that should be abiding by this style. It should adhere to these styles. Sir, can you give an example of a language which is an unstructured programming language? There was a language called as Fortran. Of course, today it is not in use. It is an obsolete programming language. We don't use it anymore. But this language was an unstructured programming language. Sir, once again, what is the meaning of that? That is what we are waiting to understand. Great. Now let us say, using this Fortran, which is an unstructured style of programming language, using this, if you happen to create a program, if you happen to build a software, how would the code of that particular program or the software would look like? If that is the question that you have, let us say, this is that software that we're talking about. And this software has been coded using Fortran, which happens to be unstructured programming language. So let us say all of these are the instructions, the code. I don't want to write the exact code in Fortran. Let us not complicate our understanding here. So maybe all of this is the code of the software here. Sir, how many lines of code do we have? Maybe we have got around 10,000 lines of code, 10K lines of code. Sir, will there be 10,000 lines of code? There can also be more than 30,000 lines of code in one single software. So I'm assuming at least there are going to be 10,000 lines of code. Now, sir, how are all of these 10,000 lines of code organized? If at all I'm going to be making use of unstructured programming language, if you ask me, it's very simple. In case of unstructured programming language, all of these 10,000 lines of code are going to be considered as a block. What is the meaning of a block, sir? Always try to remember this. In the programming context, a block is nothing but a piece of code that is surrounded with a pair of curly braces. Some of you refer to it as flower brackets. It is not correct. Any piece of code that is surrounded with a pair of curly braces is what is supposed to be treated as a block. Now, in unstructured style of programming, how many blocks can be created, sir? There is a rule. Only a single block of code can be present in unstructured style of programming. So observe this. This entire piece of code, I'm going to surround it with a pair of curly braces like this. So this is nothing but a block. Sir, but what type of a block is this, sir? Is it a if block? Is it a for loop block? Is it a switch statement block? No, this block that I'm referring to, it is a function here. In other words, how many functions can be present in unstructured style of programming? Only one function. Maybe the name of this function itself is the main function. Sir, what is this main, sir? Don't worry. All of this, definitely in the future, I'm going to explain it. But there is a dependency. Forward references have to be given in these sessions. Nothing can be done. Simply remember, there is a function that should always be present in every single program if the program has to be executed, and the name of that function, such a function happens to be main function. That is all you should be able to remember. Am I clear with this, everyone? Are you all understanding whatever I'm speaking? I'm also looking at the YouTube live. I see some of you are more concerned about attendance here. I don't really know if the student mindset has changed. To come out of this stigma of trying to prioritize attendance over knowledge. Anyways, the link is going to be shared, I think, around 8:30. So you can give your attendance, and if you're least interested, you can also leave the session. Those of you who are here only for the sake of attendance. All right, then, thank you so much. I see Yash, Malaya, Nimala Lakshmi, Unknowing Fling, Akash, Bhuvan Singh, Mohammed Sahan, and many others also active on YouTube as well. Right. Let's proceed forward. I hope you understood what is the meaning of unstructured style. See, I'll also give an analogy so that it would be easy for you to understand. Now, what is the problem, sir, if you have the restriction of having only one block, only one function within your program? See, the problem is managing the code is going to become a little difficult for us. Let us say, out of those 10,000 lines of code, maybe I'm trying to develop a Facebook application. Now, all of you know in Facebook, there are so many other functionalities, There is a login functionality. You can change your profile picture there. You can send a friend request. You can block somebody there. Maybe you can create a post there. You can like someone's post. You can comment on somebody's post. You can log out. You can join a Facebook group. So many functionalities. If you use an unstructured programming language, the code for all of those functionalities, you are going to be forced to write it inside a single function. Now, suddenly, Mark Zuckerberg would come to you the next day and he's going to tell you, imagine you're working as a software developer to Meta, which is nothing but previously it was known as Facebook. It should be all of your dream to work for Mang companies. I don't know how many of you know what is even Mang here. Have you heard of Mang here? This is an acronym for 5 different companies. People who come out of IITs, NITs, their dream is to start their career in Mang companies. M stands for Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. All of these 5 companies are referred to as Mang companies. Anyways, now let's assume that you're working for Meta, nothing but Facebook, and next day Mark Zuckerberg would come to you and he would say, there is an issue that has come up in the login functionality. Now, don't you think, since there is only one function, you literally have to sit down with your source code and you have to search where did you actually write the code to achieve the login activity? And then you have to find out, and then you have to rectify the issue there. Difficult to manage. Am I clear with this, everyone? Perfect. Next word, sir. Coming to the structured style of programming. I told you, whatever is your understanding with respect to unstructured, exactly opposite is going to be define the structured oriented programming paradigm. So now you think an answer. Do you think in structured oriented style, I will have the restriction of creating only a single function? Of course not. I can create any number of functions. Those of you who come from technical background, you have seen it in C language. Do you have the liberty to create as many functions as many you want to? Of course you can. Am I clear with this, everyone? Right. Now, see, understand this. Let us say the same software, maybe the same Facebook program, Now, if I have to develop using C language, which is a structured programming language, how would the things look like, sir? The first thing that I should do is, once I identify the problem statement here, I have to divide it into subtasks. Once you have identified there is a large and a complex task. See, if there is a large and a complex task, what you should do is you should divide the task. You should break the task into smaller subtasks. Facebook is definitely a very complex application, but I'm not directly going to start writing the code for it. I'm first of all going to break that application into smaller subtasks. Maybe this is the login task. Maybe this is uploading the profile picture task. Maybe this is sending a friend request task. Maybe this is I'm a very rare user of these social media apps. I'm not interested in wasting time, so literally forgotten what other functionalities would be there. Maybe you want to join some Facebook group. Maybe you want to comment on somebody's post. Maybe you want to like somebody's post. So all of these are smaller subtasks that all of us have identified it together. Now you are going to start writing the code for each of these individual subtasks separately. Later, all of that code is going to be compiled, and finally a build is going to be released. That is how an application is going to be created. Am I clear with this? So see, what I'm going to do is I would separately write the code for each of these subtasks here. So see, all of this code, I'm going to surround it within a block of code. I told you, each of these blocks are technically referred to as functions. Sir, we don't know what is the meaning of function. That I also know. Don't worry about it. I'll myself teach you. Maybe I'm going to name this function as login function like this. That is what I'll be doing it. So see, this is our login function. Similarly, this is our maybe upload profile picture function, upload DP. That is the function that we have created. Next, maybe what function did I say? This is send friend request function. This is a separate function. Maybe here I'm going to create another function like comment function. Some random functionalities is what I'm choosing here. Maybe this happens to be, let us say, logout function. And of course, some of you might point at this fact that, sir, just now you told in every application, you can have any number of functions, but one function should be compulsorily there if you want the application to be launched, which is nothing but the, what function am I referring to, everyone? Good. It is nothing but the main function. So let us say this is our main function is also going to be present here. Perfect. Thank you so much for acknowledging. And maybe one last function here, I would say join group function. Some other function is what we have created. Perfect. Am I clear with this, everyone? So in unstructured style of programming, you are allowed to create only a single function, only a single block of code can be present. Whereas in structured style of programming, there are absolutely no restrictions on the number of blocks, nothing but the number of functions that you can be creating. And I have also made it very clear, all of these functions that you see here, all of these blocks that you see here, what are they, how are they going to be implemented? They're going to be implemented using a concept in programming called as functions. You can call them as functions. Just a second, I would slightly increase the font. You can call them as functions. You can call them as procedures. That is why they are also referred to, such a programming style is also referred to as procedure-oriented programming languages. They are also referred to as modules. They're also referred to as routines, submodules, subroutines, subprograms. All of these, once again, they're all synonyms, different words, but the meaning is same. And in object-oriented programming language, the same thing is also referred to as methods. Am I clear with this, everyone? Perfect. Now, I have a quick question here, especially to the YouTube audience here, which of these two approaches do you think is better, unstructured or structured? According to your understanding, which one is better, structured or unstructured? I'm waiting for your responses here. Okay, Simran, Pacman. I mean, it's better if you give your actual names. I'll also be able to recognize you people in the future also. So see if it is possible to give your actual names. I mean, I see here Rohit, Sheikh, and other students here. I'm able to recall. So it should be such a journey here. After 15 days, tomorrow, if you happen to connect with me on LinkedIn, I should immediately be able to recall, hey, he was a student from the EDL program, a wonderful student, very interactive, was giving proactive responses to the questions that I was asking. Okay, I am shocked to see that all of you are saying that it is structured. What about my Zoom audience here? Which approach do you think is better, structured or unstructured? Okay, Ajay, Niharika, Nayan, Kirtana. Aarti Kasturi. Okay, Abdus Sabur, Yash Gatkari. Okay, okay. Good. No, no, I've already told it previously also. Whether it is right or wrong, that should always be secondary. Participating is important here. Now, see, uh, whenever you are asked such questions in the interviews, you have to be extremely careful and diplomatic here, because this is a question which comes automatically with a trap. And I would say most of you have fallen into my trap here. You're not supposed to favor one technical concept over the other. Both are actually good. I mean, if we have the audacity of, I think by this time I have spoken approximately around 3 hours of technical discussion is what we have had. Just in 3 hours, we have the courage, we have the audacity to tell, hey, unstructured is waste. Do you think the computer scientist who created Fortran was a fool? Are we telling we're more smarter than that person there? 100% no. What should be the ideal answer then, sir? I see Pooja here has answered it correctly. It depends. Both have their own advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons. Depending on the situation, I am going to choose whether it should be unstructured or structured. That is what I'm going to say. What do you mean to say, sir? If in case, see, it is something like this. Let us say, once the training is completed, maybe one fine day, of course, this is not going to happen. I mean, we would be happy if it would happen. Whenever, for some other reason, you happen to visit Bangalore or any other city where we also have our physical presence, the ExcelR centers, you happen to come looking for Amar sir, you happen to come looking for me also, sir. We want to meet Zabi sir. He had taken 15 days of training on full stack development. We enjoyed his training, so we want to meet him in person. Let us say I would be very delighted that my students have come looking for me, and I would say, look, let us. I am going to give treat for all of you. Maybe let us say at least some 30 students have come from a specific college, and I have taken you people for a treat. Maybe some restaurant is what I have taken, and I have told you, look, it is the snacks time. It is the snacks time now. So maybe I have offered all of you Golgappa treat, Pani Puri. I hope all of you know what is Pani Puri. Right. No, I take you there. Now, let us say you understood the difference between unstructured and structured, and you're such a crazy fan of structured style, procedure-oriented style. When I ask you to come and start eating Pani Puri, Pani Puri, it is a small task here. It is a small thing, which actually how you're supposed to eat is that one entire Pani Puri, you're supposed to gulp it in a single shot, in a single go. No, sir. I am a fan of procedure oriented. I always want to break the task into smaller tasks. So I'll take that pani puri, I will break it into small, small pieces and I will eat. People would laugh at you. Small and a simple task directly. But let us say, maybe by the time you arrived in Bangalore, it was around 8:30 in the morning. You have not had your breakfast. And we South Indians, our favorite breakfast, usually whenever we are outside, would be masala dosa. Now, let us say this time, the same thing, the meal is going to be different. I have not taken you for a snack treat. I have taken you for a breakfast treat. And I have told you can take masala dosa. Now, think an answer. If I tell, hey, look, you can eat masala dosa, the treat is on me, but I have a condition that one entire masala dosa, you are supposed to gulp it in a single shot. You will tell something is wrong with this person. Sir, we don't want your treat also, your breakfast also. We are delighted to only see your face. Thank you so much, sir. Obviously, that is going to happen. How can anybody eat that entire masala dosa in a single gulp? What is that you're going to do now? You have to break. How do we eat masala dosa? We break it into small, small pieces, and those individual pieces we consume it separately. I hope you're understanding it. When it is masala dosa, break it. When it is pani puri, don't have to break it. You have to eat it entirely as it is. It depends. Am I clear with this, everyone? Right. So tell me, in what situations are you supposed to use unstructured style of programming? Whenever it is a small and a simple task, go with unstructured programming. Whenever it is a large and a complex task, go with structured programming. I hope all of you have been able to understand so far. Great, sir. So we understood C is a structured oriented programming language, whereas Fortran is a unstructured style of programming. Next word, sir. Next word means, now see, in every program, doesn't matter in what programming language you are going to write, every program will have two components, minimum two components. Can anybody tell me what are those two components going to be? I'm asking something. Every program would have two components. What are those components? Okay, let me myself answer to this question. See, there are going to be two components of a program. Mohammed Fahim has answered it correctly. Good. Okay. Anyways, concentrate here. First of all, there would be data within your program, and there would also be code that is going to operate on the data. That is nothing but functions. So there are going to be two things in every single program. Take C program, C++, Java, Python, JavaScript. In every program, you're going to find these two common components here. Data would be there, functions would be there. Now, in case of C language, see, look at this, everyone. Data and functions. Out of these two components in your C program, your functions are going to be treated as first-class citizen. That means they're going to be given higher priority. But whereas your data is going to be treated as second-class citizens here within your C program. What do you mean to say, sir? For example, let us say, maybe you want to pass the data between different functions within your C program. Is the free flow of data between different functions, is it permitted in C language? Absolutely, yes. So see, the data is flowing from one function to another function. That means absolutely there is nothing called as data security within your C program. Those of you who come from C background, even if you have a C language textbook with you after the class, open it. It's a challenge. Nowhere in that entire C language textbook, you will find these words: data abstraction, data encapsulation, data security, data privacy, because that is not even possible. It can't be accomplished using C language. Is that clear, everyone? That is why in C language, functions are going to be treated as first-class citizens. Data is going to be treated as second-class citizens. Sir, but even today also, if we happen to Google top 3 programming languages in the world, but we are able to see C language happens to be at least, if not one in top 3, at least in top 5 languages. C language happens to be one of the top 5 languages today. And sir, just now you have also revealed the date, the year. C language was created in 1972, but in 2023 also retain one of the positions in top 5 programming languages. Even today also, C language is going to be used. When do we use? Why do we use? Don't worry. That also by the end of the discussion, I'm going to speak about it. Now, did you understand everything about C programming language? Great. Next word, sir. Next word means, okay, I'll do one thing. It's better not to keep it for a later point of time. Let me explain now itself. But I have to keep a lot of other information for you to understand all of these. Anyways, see, whenever we speak about softwares, there are actually 2 different types of softwares. Can anybody tell me what are the 2 types of softwares? Okay. Soumya, good. Rakesh, good. Hmm. Good to see that all of you are answering it correctly. At least the Zoom audience is answering it correctly. I see my YouTube audience is busy behind attendance. What are the 2 different types of softwares? Good. Vinith has answered it correctly. Akansha has answered it correctly. Subhashish, Narasimhamurthy, Uppara Kumar, Sakshi, Mukund. Good. I appreciate those of you who are taking the efforts to respond to the questions here. Absolutely correct. All of you are absolutely correct. Right. You can stop sending your responses. Please concentrate here. Do not get distracted. See, there are 2 different types of softwares. There is something called as the system softwares, and we also have something called as the application softwares. Sir, can you give an example? Don't worry, I would definitely give an example also. Can you give an example of a system software, sir? Just today we understood it. Compiler, I spoke about it, is a system software. Assembler is a system software. In fact, your operating system itself is the system software. All of these are nothing but the system softwares. Just a hint to all of you, any software that works at your system level, which doesn't really need internet to start its execution, most of the times it is going to be treated as a system software. What about application software, sir? And this, though, we can give at least some 300 examples because all of your mobile phones are filled with these softwares only. WhatsApp is a application software. Facebook is application software. Instagram is a application software. Zoom is a application software. YouTube is an application software. All of these are application softwares. Now understand this. Even till date also, in 2023 also, if anybody has to build a system software, their go-to programming language would any day be C or C++, even today also. Sir, what about application software, sir? That I'm going to speak about it. That part I want to leave it vacant. Why, if you ask me, for these system softwares, their only concern is not data security. Their only concern is speed of execution. They're going to be extremely fast if coded using C or C++. Is that clear, everyone, so far? Perfect, sir. Next, what happens, sir? Now, see, the moment, small disclaimer to all of you, please stay focused. The next part of the discussion is going to be quite crucial. It's already 8:25. Hardly we're left with another 35 minutes of discussion. So just try to stay uh, committed for at least another 30 minutes. Understand this. When Dennis Ritchie created this programming language called a C language, overnight, he literally became the hero of the entire programming world. Everything anybody could dream of, name, fame, money, everything he was able to achieve only because he created this programming language called a C programming language. While he was enjoying the fame, the name, the all of the other perks, when Dennis Ritchie joined Bell Labs, he also had a colleague. Colleague means office friend, basically, whose name happens to be Stru. See, whose name is, of course, B silent here, Jarne Stru. Both of them were colleagues. They were sharing cubicles in Bell Labs. He also worked at Bell Labs, USA. No, just imagine if all of a sudden, overnight, if your colleague, if your friend has literally become like the celebrity of the programming community, of course, these are human emotions. You will be happy. At the same time, you'll also feel sad about it. That's nothing wrong about it. It's human emotions, but of course, it should be to a certain extent. No, Stru felt, hey, both of us worked in the same company. We were working on the similar kind of projects. Just because he happened to create a programming language, he has become the hero of the programming world. I think I should also set out on this journey of creating a programming language. He decided, but he was a very smart person. What he realized was, look, I am not, and of course, when did he decide? He decided in the same decade, in the year 1979. But he was a very smart person. He decided, look, I am not going to reinvent the wheel here. Reinvent the wheel means I am not going to develop everything from scratch. I am a very smart person. So what did he do? What did he do, sir? From 1972 till 1979, 7 long years, he was very closely observing C programming language, especially the negative feedback, the negative criticism that used to come to C programming language very smoothly. Dennis Ritchie, very conveniently, Dennis Ritchie used to ignore it. Hey, 100 out of 100 people, 98 people are appreciating my programming language. If two of them are unhappy about my programming language, why should I bother about these two individuals? Least interested. But Stru was more interested in those two individuals. He was not interested in 98 of them. I mean, see, it is a rule of business. Whenever you want to succeed in business, if there is already a monopoly in the business, if you identify the problems and if you try to overcome those problems with your product, obviously you're going to become the leader in that particular domain. So he was closely observing, he was closely documenting all of the negative criticism that used to come for C programming language. C programming language is good, but then with respect to data, there is no security that is guaranteed. C programming language doesn't support the concepts of object-oriented programming. Of course, that is also important. What did he do, sir? Like I said, very smart person he was. He simply decided, look, if I have to create a programming language that is going to be hailed as the best programming language, then I am not going to commit the mistake like the previous programming language inventors, that I would restrict my programming language to only one of the three programming styles. I will not make it only unstructured. I will not make it only structured. I will not make it only object oriented. Sir, what are you trying to say, sir? He wanted to create a hybrid programming language. It should have the flavor of procedure oriented programming language also. It should also have the flavor of object oriented programming language also. That means what he decided was he simply did a research. Currently in 1979, which is the most famous procedure-oriented programming language? Undoubtedly, he knew it was C language. At the same time, he did his research. In 1979, which is the most famous object-oriented programming language? There was a language called a Simula. Sir, but you have not spoken about it, sir. That is why at the beginning I told I'm not going to discuss all of the high level languages. I'm discussing only the prominent ones, only the popular high level languages here. If I discuss all the high level languages, then I should rename this entire program. It should not be full stack development. It should be high level languages fundamentals course. That is what I should rename it as. Sir, then you have not spoken about Simula. Clearly, if I have not spoken about Simula, it means it is not a popular programming language that I feel I shouldn't waste my time on this. As simple as that. That means, look at this, everyone. What he did was he has inherited all of the good features from C programming language. At the same time, he has taken all of the good features from Simula, which happens to be the object-oriented programming language. And by taking these two languages features, he happened to create a new programming language. Now, when he wanted to create a new programming language, see, for all of us, creating a programming language was a lot easier than deciding upon a name to these programming languages. What did he name this programming language, sir? He named this programming language. Of course, see, currently in 1979 also, which is the best programming language? C. So he didn't wanted to leave the name C. He wanted to tell that my language is better than C. So he named his programming language as C with classes. That is the name that he has given to this language. Sir, we know what is C, but what is this classes, sir? Now, please understand, friends. Look at this, everyone. I have spoken about these three programming paradigms, right? In object-oriented programming paradigm, you have a concept of classes and objects. So anybody with a bit of programming sense will immediately realize the moment they see this word called as classes, they will immediately get to know, oh, we have all of the good features of C language. Along with that, classes means it is a concept that is associated with object-oriented programming. That means along with all of the good features of C language, we also have the object-oriented flavor present in this new programming language. Correct. That is the message which Stroop also wanted to convey to the market. C with classes. Am I clear with this, everyone? Somehow, this name was not very convincing. Seems like a very lengthy name, C with classes. Then all of his close circle, his well-wishers, his friends and relatives, they approached him. Hey, Stroop, you have done a wonderful job. But then this name C with classes is a very lengthy name. See how smartly Dennis Ritchie has named his language as C. Why don't you also give a very suitable, very crisp name to your programming language? Then he also realized it is time that I have to change my programming language name. And finally, he decided to walk the same steps of Dennis Ritchie, same footsteps that Dennis Ritchie has walked. Okay, I want to know, it's quite an interesting question for all of you. What was the reason Dennis Ritchie named his programming language as C? What does C stands for? Computer, class, compiler, coding, code, okay. Communication, compilation, code, compiler, okay. I am asking, what was the reason Dennis Ritchie named his programming language as C? What does C stands for? Okay, Akash says coding, Bharati computer, Sagar C++. No, I'm asking what does C stands for with respect to C programming language. What does that letter C? What does it denote? impact. Good, Saujanya. Good, Vishal. Good, Rohit Prajapati. Furfan Alam. Connector. It's a project code name. Computer language. Okay. Good, Gayatri. Good, Teja, Meghana, Kirtana. Good. I'm happy that at least I think 5% of the audience knows the rationale behind why the language was named as C language. But for those of you who don't know why the language was named as C language, a small history behind it. Let us do one thing. Let us restrict to only 60 seconds. Quickly, let us give a bit of historical background to this. Just a second. Okay, this is the actual reason behind. Of course, some of you think why it is called as C, because it stands for computer science. It stands for coding. Actually, technically speaking, it stands for nothing. Literally stands for nothing. Sir, then didn't Dennis Ritchie think of any good name? Why did he name his language a C language? That's what I'm telling. You have to understand a bit of background before C language was invented. Now, see, I told you, see, am I discussing all of the high-level languages here? 100% no. I'm discussing only popular high-level languages. Tell me, in which decade did the high-level languages decade start? Hey, just today I have given the history behind it. In the decade of 1960s. Good. Now, I started directly speaking about C language that was invented in 1972. Obviously, in those 12 long years, there were many programming languages that were created. One of the very first high-level languages that were created was a language called as Basic Combined Programming Language, nothing but BCPL. Now, the problem with BCPL is, look at this, everyone. It was a programming language. Now, if this is your computer, look at this, everyone. I want all of you to understand it clearly. If this is your computer, and in that computer, if you try to download a software, a program that was coded using BCPL, the problem was it used to occupy 90% of your computer's memory. That means, see, if I have to speak in today's context, if in case you want to download WhatsApp, then you should uninstall everything. You should delete all of the photos and videos that you have in your gallery. Only then you will be able to use WhatsApp on your mobile phone. Would any of us use WhatsApp the way we are using it today? Of course not. But anyways, that was the limitation of BCPL. Only 10% of free space was available. Next what means, the moment this limitation was encountered, there was another computer scientist. I'm not able to recollect his name either. It was Martin Richards or somebody. This another computer scientist, he wanted to create a new programming language which is going to overcome the limitations of BCPL. So he was successful in creating such a programming language. So see, using his programming language, 100%, it is not going to occupy 90% of the memory. Maybe back then it used to occupy only 20% of the memory. And 80% of the memory was available. You could use that 80% of memory for some other applications, for some other softwares. It's a huge revolution. But I told you, what was challenging for these smart minds was not creating a language. What was more challenging for them was giving a name to this programming language, their programming languages. He was thinking, what should I name my programming language? Just by listening to the name, people across the world, they should immediately be able to recollect. They should be able to understand the features of my product, the features of my programming language. After a lot of thought, he decided his programming language to be named as B language, like this. Sir, you gave so much of hype, sir. He was thinking a lot of time. After a lot of discussions, he decided the name of his language as B. What a waste name, sir. For you, it might seem like waste, but he had a meaning that he wanted to convey through this name. Whenever people who used to hear the name of the language, previous language, the predecessor language, basic combined programming language, BCPL, indirectly, subconsciously, he wanted the message to be sent that BCPL occupies a lot of memory. Hey, there is a new language available in the market. Its name is B. The first thought that is going to strike your head is it just B? So is it going to occupy less memory? Yes, in fact, that is the feature of the programming language here. I hope you're understanding it. After which, Dennis Ritchie comes into the picture. He created a programming language that not just occupies less memory. If it was occupying 20%, maybe a C language occupies only 10% memory. At the same time, it was a structured programming language. It had many, many new features which were not there in B programming language. I mean, the creator of B language, from BCPL, he reduced the name to B. Dennis Ritchie can't cut that B into half B. I hope you're understanding it. Doesn't make any sense. So he decided, if I have to convey to the world that my language is better than the previous programming language, the predecessor programming language, which happens to be B, I have to be extremely smart in terms of naming my language. So he decided, alphabetically, what comes after B? Nothing but C. So the moment people are going to hear the name of the language C, oh, is it better than B? Yes, of course it is better. This is the message that he wanted to subconsciously convey. I hope now you're understanding it. So actually speaking, C does not stand for anything at all. Literally does not stand for anything. This was the reason behind it. Now, Stroop also wanted to follow the same footsteps of Dennis Ritchie. When people approached him, telling that you have to also change your programming language name, one of the names that he decided was, I am going to name my language as D. Can you tell me why? Common sense. After C, alphabetically, what is the next letter here? It is nothing but D. The moment he chose the name of the language as D, immediately all of his close circle, they came to him and they started scolding him. Hey, are you a fool? How can you name your language as D? Because Dennis Ritchie has become so famous out in the programming community. The moment they hear the letter D, immediately will understand, oh, maybe this is another language which Dennis Ritchie has created, because Dennis Ritchie, the name also starts with D. He immediately said, hey, no, this is the least thing that I want to happen. I don't want to give my years of efforts credit once again to Dennis Ritchie. So he discarded this name also. Then after a lot of research, after a lot of mindful thinking, he finally decided that he's going to name his programming language as C++ like this. Sir, what is so great about this? Because everybody who comes from programming background, they know this plus means it is an incrementation operator. That means if you have an integer value as 5, and if you try to increment that variable and in the next line you try to print it, automatically that value would have been incremented to 6. So basically it is an incrementation operator. So the moment Dennis Stroop named his programming language as C++, he indirectly conveyed the message that, look, my programming language is one step ahead. It is one step better than the previous programming language, which was the C programming language. Am I clear with this, everyone? That is great, sir. But can you tell me what are the features of this programming language? Observe this. Of course, in which year did he give this name? The language was ready by 1979, but in 1985, he changed the name of his language to C++. Now, of course, I told you, can anybody tell me, I want all of you to participate here. Is C++ A structured programming, is it a procedure-oriented programming language or an object-oriented programming language? Let me see how many of you will be able to answer. I'm asking a question, everyone. Is it a procedure-oriented programming language or is it an object-oriented programming language? I once again repeat this. I see some gaming names and all in YouTube live. So whenever you try to register using the link which we have sent, automatically your email IDs are also going to be captured. So we will be able to figure out who that person is. So make sure you maintain the decorum of these sessions. Okay. Some of you say object oriented. Most of you are telling it is an object oriented programming language. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm also getting the right answer here. Good, good. Okay, let us not waste the time. We are already uh, at the verge of completing today's session also. C, I told you, it is a hybrid programming language. That means it is both procedure oriented as well as object oriented programming language. But in the industry, Ganga Prasad, most of the times, we use C++ whenever we want to develop object oriented application. I am not denying the fact that using C++, you can't create procedure oriented programs. Of course you can create, but in the industry, the norm is we use C++ whenever we want to develop what type of applications? Object oriented programs, object oriented applications. Already you know from the previous explanation what is the meaning of procedure oriented programs, procedure oriented style. You can create multiple functions. But what about object oriented programming style, sir? As simple as this. Observe this. I told you it is hybrid. So once again, I'm not going to speak about procedure-oriented programming style. You already know the meaning of it. This time I'm going to speak about object-oriented programming style. Because so far, you know what is the meaning of unstructured, structured. The only programming paradigm about which you lack the understanding is the object-oriented programming paradigm. Let us say, I want to once again reconsider the same application here, the same example of the Facebook application here. This time, I decided that I want to develop Facebook application using C++, which is an object-oriented programming language. Of course, hybrid, but this time I'm going to use the object-oriented flavor of C++. Then how would my program, how would my application look like, sir? This is how it is going to look like. Observe this. In your entire application, you're going to identify unique objects. So see, maybe this is one object, the user object, maybe the admin object. So like this, there are going to be different objects that you're going to be identifying. So I once again convey this information. What are all of this? If you ask me, all of these are nothing but objects here. These are all objects. So how does your application look like if you develop it using an object-oriented programming language? It would look like a collection of objects. That is how your application is going to look like. It is nothing but collection of objects. Am I clear with this, everyone? But I also told you, every program will have how many components? 2 components. Data would be there, functions would be there. In C++ also, of course, you will have these 2 things. But listen to this, everyone. In case of C++, the data flow between 2 objects is not going to be allowed. This is going to be restricted. But whereas in C++, I told you, between functions, it was possible. But in case of C++ or any object-oriented object-oriented programming style, data cannot easily flow through from one object to another object. That means if you ask me, sir, here also we have got 2 things. We have the data we also have the functions. Who is given more priority here? Of course, in this case, data is going to be considered as first class citizens. Functions are going to be considered as second class citizens. In other words, they would be given least priority here. That is why, my friends, in a C++ textbook, you will be able to see such technical terminologies there. Data encapsulation, data abstraction, data hiding. All of these terms are going to be relevant with respect to an object-oriented programming language. Is that clear, everyone, so far? Did you understand whatever I've spoken about it? Perfect. Next what, sir? Next what means this is a small historical background about two very famous programming languages, namely C and C++. Now, after this, I have to speak about our programming language, the language that is going to be the topic of discussion throughout this training program, which is dedicated for 30 hours, which is nothing but Java. Now, I don't think so. For my favorite programming language, I will be able to give the entire historical background in just 9 minutes. Just like how in detail about C, their features, their historical background, I was able to speak about them in detail. Similarly, I have to speak next about Java, which I have planned to speak about it in tomorrow's session. For today, let us conclude the discussion with these concepts. And if in case any of you have any doubt about whatever I've spoken so far, now I would open the forum for doubts clarification. You can send across all of your questions to me in the Zoom chat as well as in the YouTube live chat section. I would be very happy to address to all of your queries. Okay, before that, no doubt, sir. Thank you so much, Durga. Did all of you understand whatever I've spoken about it in today's class? See, unfortunately, the reason for me to speak about all of this is, no, 1 second, do not send any messages. Do not send any messages. Wait. None of your computer science textbooks are going to speak about all of these historical details, because every computer science textbook author, that person feels, hey, I am writing a computer science textbook. I should speak everything technically, nothing historical, dates, the stories behind I should be able to speak. Valid from that perspective. All of our history textbooks, they feel they should speak only about the kingdoms, the battles, the wars, all of these things. Clearly, technical things are going to be eliminated from these historical textbooks. I'm sure all of you, including me, we have read history textbooks. Anywhere have you found anything technically being discussed there? Absolutely not. So neither computer science textbooks are speaking about it, nor the history textbooks are speaking about it. Then you and I, who are aspiring to become software engineers, who seek for at least 30-40 long years of career in the IT industry, shouldn't we have this basic minimal information about the history behind these prominent programming languages? 100% we need to have it. That is why I feel it is my moral responsibility to speak about all of these historical facts. Because if I don't speak, of course, you will also not be aware of these information. Anyways, so this was the reason behind. I just wanted to clarify it to you. I have to see your actual name. Your name is real me. I don't know how to refer to you. So please change your Zoom username. Then I'll be able to answer to your question. Right. Like I said, this is all for today. I hope all of you have enjoyed today's session also. And I think you're all realizing here, just because it is free training, something EDL, everyday learning program. So it is not just that there is somebody who's been brought from the industry, some random things that person is speaking, some hi-fi fancy technical terminologies. Hey, wonderful, look at what technical terms that person is using. but you are not able to make any sense out of it. That is not the motive behind this training. Doesn't matter even if in 15 days I can't speak ABCD of Java. It is absolutely okay. But whatever technical concepts that I'm discussing here, I wanted to discuss with 100% clarity. There shouldn't be any loopholes in your understanding. That is what is my intention. So, I mean, if really anybody would ask us, it's been already 2 days, approximately 4 hours of discussion. I mean, more than 4 hours that way, because I extended the session yesterday as well. What did we actually learn, if you ask me? I hope all of you have also realized it. I have not written a single line of code in Java, and it's already 2 days. I'm sure most of you would have attended so many webinars, so many seminars. They would try to teach you some of the complex topics in Java in 3 hours of live sessions. I don't know how on planet Earth anybody could directly understand the programming concepts without understanding all of these fundamentals before. So this was the intention. At the same time, I also know there are few of my participants here who might already be aware of all of this basics and fundamentals. But I'm sure to such audience also, I have definitely added some extra information. If needed, please extend the classes after 15 days. We are ready to attend. Even we need complete course from you since you teach well. Hey, thank you so much, Parvati. Okay, thank you so much. I'm literally overwhelmed with the kind of response that you people are showing for these classes. Thank you so much, everyone. Right. I'm honestly telling, on YouTube, I have around close to 200 participants on Zoom. I don't know if you're able to see the number of participants. There are exactly 524 participants here, including me and others, approximately 520. Now, if so many of you are sending thank you messages here, I'm really sorry I'll not be able to respond to each one of you, but I'm reading all of your messages, so be rest assured about it. Okay, Aniket here is asking a question. What type of professional experts nowadays are required by the IT industry? I don't want to use technical designations that industry needs software developers, data scientists, data analysts. From my years of experience with the industry in the past, in the present, in the future would be seeking only one kind of professional experts who are problem solvers. They don't need people who are bookworms. He asks something. What are the 3 ways of handling exception in Java? Sir, the 3 ways of handling exception in Java is handling the exception using try catch, ducking the exception using the throws keyword, then also rethrowing the exception using try catch, finally throw and throws. Theoretical answers to the same person. If I ask that person to implement the binary search algorithm in Java, and if that person is not able to move the pen even a few centimeters, those are not the kind of individuals the industry is looking for. The industry any day is looking for good problem solvers. Ultimately, please understand, Java, Python, all of these are programming languages. These are like a medium using which you're going to be solving the problem. So you have to write the solution. You have to think about the solution first of all. Only then you will be able to use the language and you'll be able to write that code. I hope all of you are understanding it. So please do not restrict yourself to just learning a programming language. You have to be a good problem solver. And how will I be able to upskill myself with that particular skill set, sir? You have to take up as many programs, as many problem statements from the internet, and you have to solve it. But don't do it at this point of time. Let me complete this entire training program that is scheduled for all of you. At the end of the training, I'm going to give you the roadmap also as to how you can continue your programming journey going ahead. So I hope I have been able to answer to your question. You're most welcome, Aniket. Uh, I am waiting if at all do we have any other questions. Of course, Priya, I would be teaching Java programming also. Absolutely, Durga. Any other questions for me? Okay, I see that yesterday also there were I think there was one message yesterday also. You were asking for my LinkedIn profile. I hope you're understanding it. I'm assuming all of you are still students, and of course, I see that there are also a few faculties here, especially to these students. Once you enter into the professional world, you will not be connecting with every single person that you're going to be meeting in the professional journey with over WhatsApp or over Instagram. There is a platform where everybody is going to connect with each other professionally. They're going to connect with each other, which is nothing but LinkedIn. So if you would also like to connect with me for the policies that I have abided by, I will not be able to share my contact number or anything, any other personal information, but you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find my name on LinkedIn. And if in case there is somebody, Shashi, I see that your message is visible to me. You don't have to send it again and again. It is quite irritating. Right. Uh, yeah, I mean, if at all there is, of course, there are going to be many here who don't even have a profile on LinkedIn, which is definitely not good. So it's important that you should have a LinkedIn profile up and running. All of your accomplishments, all of your achievements, you have to showcase it to the world there. Once your skill sets are visible to the potential recruiters, you don't even have to reach out to them. They are going to personally reach out to you, asking, hey, Zabi, we have a opening for a backend developer in our company. We're seeking for a person with 5 to 6 years of experience in hardcore backend development with Spring and Hibernate uh, framework skill set. So would you be interested in taking up this role? This would be possible only and only if you happen to showcase your skill set on LinkedIn. So I would advise, I mean, I don't know how many of you are going to take this advice seriously, but if you consider me as your mentor, that he is the person who is going to guide us with respect to our career, then I would say immediately stop wasting your time on social media. It could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be, I don't know, there are so many other Snapchat. Trust me, honestly, I don't even know how to use Snapchat because never in my life I have even installed it. Facebook, of course, when I was a student, also this application was still there. But once I realized this is nothing but just a means of wasting time, I have immediately stopped using it. Same is the case with Instagram also. I'm not even, I don't know, it was hardly, I think, at least some 4 or 5 times maybe I have used Instagram. After that, I have realized nothing. See, whenever you're scrolling through the Instagram feed, have you ever encountered at the bottom telling you have reached the end of the timeline? There is nothing more to feed you with. Have you ever come across this? Never. That is how the Instagram algorithm is going to be designed. It is like you're in a loop. It would keep popping you with so much of data, you will not realize how, with the intention of only, hey, let me just check for 5 minutes, how that 5 minutes have been converted into 1 hour, how that 1 hour went on to become 3 hours. You'll not even realize it. So do not waste your time. Now is the time for you to prepare for your placements. Make sure all of you have a very strong LinkedIn profile. Like I said, going ahead, I would also guide you how to have a profile on HackerRank, how to start practicing programs on HackerRank, how important data structures and algorithm skill set is. All of these things are important. For you to focus on these things, you have to eliminate unnecessary things from your life. Anyways, I have a lot more to speak about, but I mean, we still have 13 more days. So there is a lot more information and insights that I would be sharing with all of you. I have also been speaking almost continuously for 2 hours. In the break also, I did not get time to go drink water also. I was going through the YouTube comment section there. Right, that's it from, okay, if at all, you can just search for me on LinkedIn, you will be able to connect. If it is not possible, I'll share the link maybe in tomorrow's session. This happens to be my name on LinkedIn. It's Syed Zabiullah. You will be able to find me there. Fantastic teaching. So your guidance is valuable. Thank you. Oh, you're most welcome, Kalyani. Thank you so much. Vishal, most of the basic topics will be covered. Variables, methods, and other things. All right, everyone, if you people don't have any doubts to ask, you can leave for the day. And tomorrow also, please make sure all of you join at least 5 minutes before the session starts. By 6:55, try to join the session so that exactly sharp at 7 o'clock, I'll be able to start the discussion. Thank you so much, everyone. I would request all of you to once again rewatch the recording of this particular session on the LMS. And while you're watching it, also make notes. Maintaining notes for these sessions is extremely important. If you don't maintain it, there is high probability that you might not be able to recollect all of this, whatever I've spoken. Please make sure you're also going to maintain notes. Any other questions? Even bring us new courses like graphic designing. So sure, Satya, we'll see if that can be possible. This is the first day of my class. No worries. Yesterday's class was also recorded, and you'll find the recording on the LMS. Thank you, sir, for giving your time and effort. You're most welcome. So what are the major programming languages to learn full stack development? You should be learning only one programming language, or at least one procedure oriented programming language, which any day is going to be C, and one object oriented programming language, which I would definitely prefer it to be Java. So whenever you have to create full stack applications, you are not going to be making use of procedure oriented languages. So in that case, you can also rule out C language. So one object oriented programming language is what you have to learn, Pallavi. Can somebody from the ExcelR team please share the attendance link? These students are asking again. Of course, I will be teaching Java also. I will be teaching Java itself. Deepak has asked a very relevant question: how to develop logical thinking. The more problems you solve, the better logical thinker you're going to become. Logical thinking, analytical thinking, problem solving skill, these are the skill set that any product based company would be looking within you. Krishna, maybe in this program I'll not be able to teach web development because I won't be touching any of the front end technologies here. Let us see going forward if we can schedule another program. Yes, you can also practice a lot of aptitude questions. All right, everyone, it's already 9:10. Thank you so much for bearing me for almost more than 2 hours. I hope it was a fruitful discussion and all of you are leaving this session with definitely some increase in your knowledge levels. If that is what is the feedback, then I think I have justified your time investment in this training program. Thank you so much, everyone. We shall virtually meet once again tomorrow at 7 o'clock sharp. Enjoy your dinner and have a great sleep, and make sure you're not wasting a lot of time on social media applications. Make sure you're utilizing your time in doing something productive. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourself, take care of your family members. It was great interacting with you. Of course, you were not able to speak, but through the chat, there was great interaction from all of you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for such a wonderful sessions. Guys, if you have any query or question for me, just let me know. I'm there for 2 more minutes. And if you're enjoying the session, Zoom peoples, I need a quick thumb. And YouTube peoples, just like our video. Nayan is asking, sir, how to achieve a certificate. So 60% attendance is mandatory to get the certificate. Okay. So we used to share the attendance link in the chat box at 8:30. The attendance link is also there over Zoom, YouTube, and LMS as well. So you have to mark the attendance and share your playback as well. Okay, Nayan, clear? Chandra, can you please share the attendance link once again on YouTube? Okay. I hope there is no more question. So guys, thank you so much for joining the session, and we'll see you on tomorrow at same time. So bye-bye, good night. Chandra, you can end the session. Thank you.